Okay.
Hello, welcome back to Shame Over. I am so glad you're here. Today I am with Maggie Bio, who's actually a new and long-term friend. We met years and years and years ago, and we reconnected recently, and it has been such a delight. So, Maggie, I will let you just introduce yourself and we'll go from there. So glad you're here.
Yes, thank you. I know it's so fun to reconnect with people. I think we played softball as rivals pretty much our whole lives together. So, and then just knowing each other and then connecting, yes, like you said, has been such a delight. And I'm so excited to be here. And I think as I introduce myself, I am really stepping into the self-awareness, activation, and fitness mentor. That just really sounds, it just really hits home when I talk like that. I've been in so many different transitions of my life, and I know that a lot of people have either known me from my fitness era, some have known me from my hairstylist era, some know me from my coaching era, and I feel like they're all kind of like colliding at this point in my life, and I'm so excited for that because I just feel like I'm finally stepping into exactly what it is that I want to offer the world and the way that I want to offer it. And so it's been such a roller coaster, but I feel like if it's not a roller coaster, like what's the point? um, and it's taken some time to really hone in. Let's, if you will, maybe some identity shifting and some identity shedding. Although I feel like I'm still kind of in the realm of everything that I've done my entire life, it just really feels like my own. And it's exciting to be birthing it and sharing it with the world right now and just kind of stepping into it. So thank you for having me because I think it's just such a cool place to be and chat on other people's platforms and just see that there's so many similarities to all of our journeys. And I think we've actually figured that out very quickly when we reconnected.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I love that you've had a very big roller coaster ride through your life and career. I feel like I have as well. A lot of people have. Like, I'm sure we all have those people in our lives who like knew from a very young age what they wanted to do, and they have been consistent with that, and they're very happy and fulfilled. That was never me. Like, I was the kid who like every week it would change. Like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a veterinarian, I want to be a hairstylist, I want to be a newscaster, I want to be all these things. And I feel like that has kind of been some of my adult life, but that's in a sense kind of frowned upon because you're supposed to like do something, stick with it. And, I know you and I both are similar in that, but I feel like that's very freeing for a lot of people to hear if they feel that way. Like I never had that one thing that I feel like I was called to do or that I stuck with, or, like it is so much about that awareness piece, which you and me are going to dive into a lot today, I'm sure. But the only way you can have that awareness is through the discovery, through trying new things, seeing what fits, what doesn't, seeing what feels good and what doesn't, and, really exploring that.
Yeah, I think that's a huge piece. And that, like you said, there's so many people that are like, how do you not know what you want to do? And I'm like, I still maybe don't. And I think that that's like the beauty and the blessing that lies in that unknown of like, well, I still want to kind of dabble. I want to see because we should not live our lives unfulfilled and behind a desk if we don't want to be behind the desk. We were actually just talking about like, why are we doing things that are more fulfilling to us? Why do we feel as if we have to stay in that lane or that mold of this is what everybody else is doing, so you should probably do it too? It's like we have understood that there's so many ways to keep in alignment with ourselves and
Mhm.
in our truth. So once we feel kind of that like really weird, wobbly, unshakable, like, why do I not feel so great? We start to pivot because we're trying to trust that there is something else that is okay to look into.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you're always just constantly throwing things out the door and saying you're starting completely over. You're starting from that like molding of what do you really truly want out of your life? I know I stayed unfulfilled for a very, very, very long time of my life because I had no self-awareness that I could actually start over. I could
Yeah.
actually create something that felt better.
Yeah. Well, and that's as we go through it, like I feel like a lot of it, we learn more what we don't like than what we do in a sense. Like it's almost like dating, like I remember in my internships and my first few jobs, it was just a lot of like, oh, well, I don't like that, or that doesn't make a great leader. Like, okay, that's the difference between a manager and a leader type thing. But it also, what I really found, what I've seen with so many other people, when you are in that, just trying it out, but it doesn't feel good, it's not authentic, it's not soul fulfilling, that's what leads to so much burnout. And I know that's what happened to me was it was just complete burnout. My body was like, okay, if you're not going to listen to me, I will make sure that you're forced to.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's interesting when we don't listen to the body, it's telling us.
Oh yeah.
Secretly, it's telling us. And so I think that that's so great to have that tune in. Because I mean, I know I lied to myself for a long time. I was listening to the tune and it sounded real bad, but I kept kind of just, nah, it'll
No,
happen.
tone
Things will
deaf.
change. It'll be
Mhm.
good. It'll work itself out and miraculously things will just be better. But I think when you can try to sit down with yourself and really truly answer your own, you know, feelings and thoughts around that, that's when the game changes, when you can really truly do that for yourself.
Yeah. So what did that look like for you based on your, I guess, probably more recent experiences that has led you to where you are now?
Um, so honestly, I think that it comes down to having the ability to sit. I swear, like I say this all the time. Silence is the loudest noise you need to hear.
Oh yeah.
And most people are like, well, I don't really understand that. And it's like the silence that we can put ourselves into will actually give us some clarity around what doesn't feel good, what doesn't feel aligned. And for me, I had to come into my own reality and be like, why am I allowing behaviors, right? Because I I tell myself all the time, I allowed that behavior, right? It wasn't anything I was welcoming. I was allowing it though. So it continued to stay for me. So I think for me, it was about coming back to the self of saying, okay, if you wake up every day and you feel like crap, and you wake up another day and you're feeling like you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing these things? I know I can do more. I know I want more. I know I should deserve more. I'm worthy of more. But it's like, how do you get there? And that's where I think most people struggle is they just feel like it's too hard to get to something else.
Well, and especially if it forces you to either slow down or pause or worst of all, get quiet. Because
Mhm.
I know me personally, getting quiet is so uncomfortable, and especially with technology and where we are today, you never have to be uncomfortable. You never have to get quiet. Like I joke that you cannot even be at the, checkout line in Target without being on your phone. You're in the
Right.
line for a minute and a half waiting for people in front of you to go, and you can't just be. Like it's insane, So of course, so many people don't know themselves or are struggling with this, they're not sure what it is, piece. It's because we won't let ourselves be uncomfortable and just sit in the silence.
Right, right. And sometimes it's not even silence. I think for me, sometimes the coolest part of like silence is great, but also if like you just said, like taking the minute to just stand in the line and just think about nothing but I'm just standing in the line.
Mhm.
I'm here, I'm present. Because I think a lot of times life is just passing us by, right? The synchronicities, the opportunities, the perfect people, they just pass you by because we're like this all the time. We're
Mhm.
closely proximity to all the things that we think we need to follow, we need to look at, we need to understand. But yeah, just putting yourself into life and being like, man, I don't like this and this is what I like. I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to do more of this and then see how it happens because then it's crazy how the synchronicities do kind of just drop into your lap. And
Mhm.
you're kind of like, wow, it's like magic, right? People get kind of like freaked out because they're like, how can this be so good? And it's like, that's actually really how life should feel,
Yes.
right? Instead of like constantly trying to look for a solution or outcome or just something to distract us from everything that's meant for us.
Yes, the distraction piece. And it's funny because I know just last week we were talking about kind of like woo woo. And so as you're talking about, like things like falling into your lap and the synchronicities, like you do not have to be super woo woo for this to happen by any means. Like
Right.
you and me have a much lower level of woo than, some other, a lot of other people, especially in like kind of the coaching world, I'd say. But it's that present piece because when you're present, you are able to be more in tune, not only externally, but internally as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always am I'm wondering like sometimes I feel like, oh, is this so woo or what is this? And I just actually was told by a co-host of mine that we're running this event. She was like, well, if you have to call it woo, it's probably not for you. And I was like, oh, okay, well then that's probably my answer.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody has a sense of woo about them. I mean, even if I could say, like, for me, even just like the sitting in the silence, that's kind of woo. It hasn't ever been like that for me in my life before, where, like you said, you get kind of uncomfortable and you're like, oh, do I like this? Do I not? And then once you do it a couple more times, you can understand, like, I also hate labeling things.
Yes.
Because
Me
I
too.
think that once we label them, we feel like they have to be a certain way or that you have to
Mhm.
get like some magical fairy dust that comes down and it changes everything. But it's really, like you said, the presence.
Yeah.
It's the staying and connecting with your truth. And I think that that's the biggest piece that most people miss is
Mhm.
that it's not like this external fairy tale land. It's just the reconnection to yourself and your inner truth.
Yes. And as you're going through this, like I feel one thing that I deal with a lot with clients that I fully understand, like the frustration as well, is, like it's like, why does this feel so hard? Why, if I've been doing this so long, like why is it still not easy? And on one note, yes, correct, but it's because we keep leveling up. So we're meeting ourselves where we're at. I think we expect that once we're working on something, it's just going to be easy from there on out. It's like, no, like what was once hard is now easy, but you've leveled up. So it still feels difficult at times, but that's because you've raised the bar.
Yeah. And that's so important because I think that that was one thing I kept bumping up against an edge is kind of what I like to say is it's like you bump up against another edge and you're like, huh, am I starting over again? Like what's happening? But like you
Yes.
said, you're up leveling, you're experiencing something different. So your reality is going to upgrade, but you have to meet your reality upgrade where you're at and say, okay, I'm still going to come after this. Because I think, yeah, people think that it just gets to be coast. We just coast. And
Mhm.
it's just like, oh, I even say this sometimes, like, gosh, they just look so lucky. But it's like we're putting in the work and the effort.
You just see that one snapshot.
Yes, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's easy to have the comparison and I swear, comparison is that thief of the joy.
Oh,
And I have that, and I think that that's a normal thing that we all can have, especially like we were talking about in the very beginning of this, is like the social media aspect, and like you kind of even just said, like the highlight reels,
mhm.
right? And so I think that a lot of us can tend to compare and get in our heads very quickly about like, well, it worked for her in 3 weeks. How come it hasn't worked for me? And our journeys are so different and
Yeah.
our timelines are different. And some of us, I think we actually talked about this in one of our meetings before, it's like that chipping of the iceberg or and it's like
Mhm.
basically trying to chip away at it. And then how close do you get before you're like, you know what, this is too hard, but you're hitting that next level of clarity, you're hitting that next level of success. And I think that's when most people tend to turn around.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you put it that way because it looks different at each level. So sometimes it is just clarity that you're getting that you didn't have before, but that's just as powerful, if not more powerful, than what you were maybe actually, thinking that you were working towards. So it can just look and feel differently depending on, what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
So what specifically, because I know your whole thing is about aware. So tell us more about Maggie and aware.
Yeah, so I really do truly believe that you can change your life in one word with 5 simple steps, but with one true intention. And the true intention is coming back to yourself.
Mm,
And everything is through self. And I think that if each and every one of us were a little bit more respectful of self,
mm,
we would all be to a different frequency, and the frequencies would connect you with the people that you're meant to be around. And I do believe that even just with meeting back up with you. My synchronicity, my tune was very different. Ran into some really cool people, and now I have more people in my life,
mm.
and it's really awesome. So, I think for me, aware really comes from I like to break it down, and I can break it down very simply. So I spell out the word, and it is literally that simple,
Okay.
and it can be that impactful if you really truly have this intention. So if you are aware or you can acknowledge what is going on in your life, whether it be good, bad, right, wrong, you want to acknowledge where are you? What does it feel like? Then we know what we don't want. Remember, we kind of capitalize off that. We most oftentimes know what we don't want. We just don't know how to get to the new spot,
Yes.
right? So the new spot is through willingness. So if you are willing to make different choices, have different thoughts, become a different version of yourself, you
Mhm.
will align with, like I just said, the
Mm.
people, places, and opportunities that will get you to your next level. And then the release is often most times the hardest part because we don't know how to release it. We like to stay kind of comfortable and we like to kind of not think that it could just kind of wash away and start a new chapter. We kind of hold on to that. And if you don't release what's not serving you anymore, you're holding yourself hostage to then experience a new level of fulfillment, a new level of success, a new level of excitement. I mean, it's so many things that you could say. And so it's literally that word broken down. How can you, in every single moment, every single minute, and basically every single day,
Yeah.
come back to yourself and say, does this thought feel good? No. How are you willing to change the thought, to realign, to release it, to experience? So it's just so the framework I love to use, and you can use it with everything. You
Yeah,
can use it with all things in your life.
absolutely. I mean, that just hits so home because a lot of my coaching involves, the awareness piece, number one thing that we really focus on. But I think where people have a really hard time, which impacts the whole rest of the process, is that willingness. Because they think, when it comes to drinking, they think that they're willing to do X, Y, and Z. But when it comes down to it, are they really? And so that's where, for me, it's one, what does that actually look like for you and why? Like, where is that coming from? Is if you're wanting to drink less, is it because your doctor told you for health reasons or the CDC or, at the end of the day, it needs to feel right for you. And that willingness to change has to come internally. And that's back to, coming back to yourself, just like you said. Like, if you don't know why you're doing it, and at the end of the day, it's not for you deep down, it's not going to last, at least not long term. And you're going to find so much more restriction and come up to a lot more blocks, I found, than if you just have the willingness to change that is very deep rooted to the core. And then, like you said, you're able to realign to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, so the willingness is seriously one of the things that I think most people they want so bad.
Yeah,
And like you said, like even just with I think that's the word that just came to my mind when we were talking about it. And even with like drinking, even with lifestyle changes, anything in our life, we feel like the willingness then restricts us from what we were doing.
100%.
And
It's
so then we're
it's a
like, whoa,
punishment.
right, right. And so I'd love to say that it's not about restriction, it's about change, right? It's about trying to understand how to understand like what you want. And sometimes what we want is going to feel really weird. I talk about this. It's like Jello. When we change things, we're like Jello, and we're like forming, and we're like, and we're trying to figure it out, and it's like then we feel like, oh my gosh, we're restricted. Oh my gosh, this is too hard. Oh my gosh, things are really weird. But that's just that comfort zone that starts to sneak in and say, well, I know you're willing, and I know you want different,
Yeah,
but I'm going to make this really hard for you. And I want you to get comfortable again because we like that. That's where our
yeah,
brain keeps us, right? And that's the hardest part because it's like, don't stay in I always think of this too. We often stay in the like familiar
mhm,
chaos because the unknown of the uncertainty seems so scary.
yeah,
But that's where you get to be curious. And that's where you get to have that willingness to say, you know what? I'm tired of saying to myself, I either want to quit drinking or minimalize my drinking, or I want to be healthier. I want to work out more. What is it that you want? And then we start to go, what? Put on the brakes because all of a sudden it's like we're going to change. And for things to change, we have to change.
yeah.
But a lot of times, once it changes and it feels really wobbly, we go, yeah, never mind.
Mhm.
This is good over
And
here. I'm gonna
comfort.
stay over here. I'm
Hmm.
gonna stay here. And then what happens? Another week goes by and you're like right back to the whole toxic cycle. And so I think that that's what's so important is like the awareness is always there,
Yeah.
especially if once you've seen it and heard it in yourself and you're like, whoa, I'm really aware of what I don't want. But now how can I become more willing to change the behaviors that are keeping me in this unfulfilling toxic cycle?
Yeah. Well, and so much of that, there's going to be discomfort either way. So it's like choose your discomfort. Are you going to be unhappy or uncomfortable because you don't like re the result that you keep getting over and over and over again? Or are you going to be unhappy or uncomfortable because of the changes that you're making,
Right.
that will eventually lead you to more of a peaceful path?
Yeah. And I wonder, maybe we can dive into this a little because it's like we all have our own perspective about this.
Yeah.
But, for me, I did it for a decade, so I completely understand the feeling. I get the feeling of, oh, it's too good to be true. Nothing would change for me. Like, why would it even be worth it?
Mhm.
But I mean, I can say to myself now, looking back 5 years ago and what my life feels and looks like now, it is so worth it. I think about it all the time as like, what if I wouldn't have been willing enough to, for me, I know everybody's story is unique to their own, but for me, I literally had to like wipe away 10 years of my life to understand that that was actually what needed to release
Mhm.
for me to be able to experience a different level of life, right? And so I think we're so terrified of losing. Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's for me, it was a person, a business, a life. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many layers to it.
Which
Um,
all of that is essentially like a 90% of your ego, all right in there.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, like my identities had to like really like I had to become like this chameleon of like I still have these identities I want because you don't have to change your whole life,
Yep.
your identities, all those things. It's just like how can you then morph
Mhm.
yourself into this newer reality that you can be and do what you want? And it's not about being that selfish. I hate the word selfish because I do believe that if every single one of us was more selfish with our time and our energy and our processes, we would actually, like I said before, like beat to a different frequency. We would have this uniqueness about us that just radiates who we are and what we're about, and the same people would feel that. And
Yeah.
we would just be connected more. I think that there's so many people that are so disconnected from their truth and from others. That I think that's a big part of self-awareness,
Yeah.
and a huge part of my journey for sure.
So how, like, if someone's listening and they're like, yeah, this is me, like how do you even get started on that?
Yeah, I think the very first step is writing out. And some people are old school, write it out or think about it, go on a long walk, hike, get yourself into some sort of a peaceful place, no phone, no nothing,
Yeah.
connecting with your true self. And I believe that once you drop what you think you want, it's not
Mhm.
about what you want at this point. It's
Yeah.
about putting down what you do not want anymore. Because I think that's what happens is we know what we want technically, and we know what we don't want, but then it's the gap, the bridge, where's
Yes.
that? And so the bridge, I believe, is to find out what do you not want anymore?
Hmm.
Me, I didn't want to wake up in an anxious mood anymore. I didn't want to wake up crying myself to work, crying myself to sleep. I knew that those were the things I did not want anymore. And then once you have that list, you can look at it and be like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
there's so much in my life that needs improvement, that needs change, that needs willingness to start fresh, to be curious. I think the word curious is so great because it's like if you could live more curious, you will open up doors that you never even knew were possible. And that's what I did. I mean, the moment I left my 10-year long relationship, we both live in the Rocky Mountains, so we know how beautiful some of the drives are just in our own neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, we have mountains, Like,
Been here my whole life. What?
yeah, like what? It was just like this serenity of like, I felt as if I had released what was holding me hostage of figuring out a new journey, a new
Yeah.
possibility. It's not new life. I shouldn't say that because I'm in my same life,
Yeah.
but it's that new opportunity to be able to do things that actually feel good to me. No, not living for someone else's truth or living for somebody else's identity or whatever it may be. So I think that that's the biggest part is it's like you have to understand what you don't want.
Yes. And be
And
very
write
clear
it
on
down.
that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
writing it down is so crucial because it not only helps you connect the dots, like when you physically see it on paper, it can help you connect the dots. But statistics show with psychologists, with literally any experts with mental health, that writing it down helps you get it out.
Yes.
And talk about the curiosity. I'm very big. Curiosity is kind of, get curious is one of the biggest things that I preach in my program. But it allows you to get curious, to be creative with it. And what I love about being curious is you lose the judgment. When you're curious, you're not looking for a specific outcome. You're asking why. You're wondering like, oh, that's interesting. Why is that the case? You're not having to define it a specific way. And
Right.
that is the most important part of all of this. I feel like if all of us were to be more curious throughout our day, this world would be such a better place because it would be so much less judgmental.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like when we're kids, we go
Yeah.
out and run around and we play around. We don't have any judgment. We don't have any thoughts really. We're just kind of like la 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 la. La.
Yeah.
And I think that, even if we could just be a little bit more curious in our lives as
Yeah.
adults. And I think that play is very intentional because it's really, truly, I remember getting asked this question and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. It was like, when was the last time you did something that brought you pure joy? And I was like, well, I don't know, okay, let me think about it. Or what kind of things do? And I was like, well, I really like to play volleyball and I like sports and things. And then the next question, well, when was the last time you've done it? And I'm like,
Oh,
I don't know, like a decade ago or something. And it's
yeah.
like, so those types of things. So even that awareness doesn't have to necessarily be the things you don't want. And like, let's say you don't want your career, you don't want your business, there's certain things like that, but there's also certain things that you can say like, man, I don't want to not have a life of fun and
Mhm.
play and joy. And because I think a lot of us in this world right now, we are so busy all the time trying to catch the next thing, like we even just talked about in the line at Target,
Yeah.
Starbucks, wherever we are, like we're constantly doing other things that are keeping us away from like our true center or our play. And
Yeah.
I just think that that's just like so fun. Just the curiosity, the play. I know for myself, even just in the last probably 4 months, being more curious and more playful and not so white knuckly,
Sure.
things
Yeah.
have actually started to fall into place because I'm allowing space. Because I think we when we white knuckle and stuff, we're so fixated, like we said, we're fixated and we're missing the fun things that just
Hmm.
float past us and they're actually
100%.
like, hey, catch on to me.
Yeah.
Hey, this could be your life change. This could be your new opportunity. But we're just too
Yeah.
blind to it.
If you're white knuckling, you're only focusing on a specific outcome that
Hmm.
you do or do not want, and everything else, just like you
Yeah.
said, flies right by. Um, every September, which as we're filming this, it's early September, I do Self-tember, and it is my, God, I feel like I've been doing this maybe 6, 7 years. I don't know, but it is basically my excuse to get back, reconnect with number one. And this year I'm actually having the family do it. So, when we get home from school, it can be kind of a challenging time, just, with emotions, with being exhausted, with all of that, especially since school just started a few weeks ago. But I'm taking that time with the kids to be like, okay, I'm not even going to put a time on it, but we are all going to take a little bit of time right now and do something that makes us feel good. So whether that is making time for play, whether it's journaling, whether it's just sitting there and listening to music or doing, the kids love yoga, so like stretching their bodies or, moving, whatever. I don't care what it is, but for me, this is so important because I think as women, we forget how much, especially as moms, our
Hmm.
kids, they they see this, they don't hear it. What really they digest and becomes part of them is our actions. So actually taking this a step further and doing this with them, I feel like is what we all need so that they can see like, okay, if mom is a better person when she takes care of herself, that means I'm a better person when I take care of myself too. And it starts at a very young age.
It does. And I think even for us, we could probably be related in this aspect as well. But like for me, I mean, I just felt like I was on the go, 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 go. And I
Yeah.
don't remember like taking that time even as a kid I was very curious. I played a lot of sports, I did a
Yeah.
lot of things. But now thinking back to it, like, was there some pure intention around setting time aside to just do those types of things? And I think that that's so important. And I love that too, because I think right now I want people to understand like you can truly reconnect with yourself in four non-negotiable habits. And I think it's your four
Yeah.
non-negotiable habits. It's not mine because mine are great and mine work for me. But I think that's what you're capitalizing on is it's like self-temper doesn't necessarily just be me, myself.
Yeah.
It's like because I'm doing these things, everybody else wins as well.
100%.
Everybody else feels better. And I think that that's what a lot of people fail to realize that when you're actually up leveling your own internal thoughts, feelings, emotions, everybody else either A, gets excited,
Mhm.
gets motivated, or some might get intimidated and some might be like, you know what? This ain't for me. But guess what? Doesn't mean that it ain't for you.
Yeah.
And as soon as you can start doing some non-negotiable habits, I'm telling you that your life just changes because you're focused on self.
Yeah.
It's not selfish. It isn't. I hate that word. I hate that word because I
So
really truly believe that we all have to be selfish in a way. It's like the whole oxygen mask or filling from an empty cup. It's like, it's so true.
yeah.
How do we do things for other people when we're on empty?
Yes.
And 99.9% for sure, moms, I am a dog mom, but you're operating on an empty frequency
100%.
and you need to give yourself the permission to be able to come back to self and to be able to set time aside for yourself.
Mhm.
I think we all fail to remind ourselves that like kids are pretty self-sufficient. They kind of like their alone time too. So it's like
They
create
need
the
it.
alone time, right, for a family to do, or create the time that we all come together and connect, but we're still in self mode. Everybody's in a better place. So I
Yeah.
think that that even comes back to like when you ask me, like, what's your first step? It's like, come back to self, come back to your truth of like, gosh dang, like, what lights you up? What makes you feel good? It's almost like a pros and cons list.
Yeah.
Do that and then be able to say to yourself, like, man, that pros list is looking pretty fun and exciting, and the cons list is really starting to hold me hostage.
Yeah.
And that's where you just have to decide, like, am I willing enough to make changes?
Absolutely. So let's talk more about your four non-negotiables. So
Yeah.
what does that look like for you? Why did you land on four? Talk to me a little bit more about that.
So I think that four is enough to step into.
Okay.
You can always have more. But I think that most people think, well, I'll have one non-negotiable. Okay, well, challenge yourself. So I think four for me sounds like just this. It's an opportunity for growth and some aspect of your life that's not just one thing. Like
Yeah.
for me, most of my non-negotiables focus on wellness because I am a fitness, I'm in self-awareness. I mean, so it's a lot of like the wellness.
Okay.
But I believe that four is kind of a magical number where it's like it doesn't feel overwhelming and it's not a to-do list. Okay, let's get that one thing straight. These are not to-do lists. They're not checking off the box just to feel good about yourself. These are non-negotiables that actually make you feel as if you're stepping into a new version of yourself.
So is this like a daily thing? Like what? Talk to me a little
I
bit more about that.
I am actually hosting a challenge in September as well. That's for daily habits.
Okay.
Yes, the word daily was just put in. So I do believe that you should try to do these daily.
Okay.
I am a creature of somebody that's like, if you have habits, we all have habits. We're
hmm
creatures of habits. And I want you to understand that most oftentimes the habits that we're creatures of are not the ones that are getting us to another place.
Yeah.
They're the ones that keep us stuck. So it's like, how can you reframe your own habits to be able to do these on the daily basis where it feels like you're actually winning?
Mhm.
Now, most people think, well, I didn't do it once. Oh, I failed. I totally failed. And I hate that 75 hard. I hate all those things where it's like you have to do something consistently for 75 days or you're a failure.
Yeah.
That to me doesn't work because sometimes life lifes and that's where your opportunity is to align back in with your truth,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you're willing to do it. And one day, I know I've had times in my life where something happens, and you're for a one, I don't know why this just pulled into my brain, but like went on a walk and fractured this finger. I mean, it was like backwards and all different way. I didn't think that was how my day was gonna go.
Not on
So
your bingo card.
yeah, I wasn't really hoping for that. So did I fail at life and fail at myself because my day lifed on me and I didn't get my stuff done? So these are non-negotiables where, yes, I think when you have them in alignment with your truth and how you want, your body will crave them and it won't feel like the to-do list. And if life lifes, it's not like you fell off the wagon and you'll never get back on again. The next day you're going to be like, I can't wait to get back on because they're so aligned
Mhm.
with what I need in my life right now. And your non-negotiables can change.
Yeah.
For me, I have four right now that I just they're ticking and it feels good. And I'm not going to change it because right now it feels good. Can I add more? Sure. Can I take away one and change it? Sure. But that's that whole labeling thing too. Stop
Yeah.
labeling perfect or stop labeling how it goes because sometimes it's going to be great and other days it's going to feel like a struggle. And
Mhm.
other days you might have to completely say, yeah, you know what, those non-negotiables are just not in my cards today.
Well, and that's the beauty of being able to evolve as you are changing and growing. Because, I mean, I've worked with so many people who, obviously their goals when they first start working with me and where they are, a year, 2 years, 3 years are completely different. But sometimes they have issues like, well, I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. I'm like, because the goals that you set out then is what you thought you wanted. Now you're living it and it doesn't feel right. If it doesn't feel right, pick something else.
Yeah,
Because if it doesn't feel good, I'm not saying it's easy, not saying it's like, oh, well, I can do that, no problem. We have to challenge ourselves in order to get that growth. But if it doesn't feel good and something that you want to do, you're not going to be excited about it. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to lose motivation, all of those things. So change the goal, change the habit, change the non-negotiable.
right. Absolutely. And that's a huge thing. Like I was saying, 75 hard, it's like you have how many things that you have to do. And if you don't take this picture and you don't work out 2 times a day and you don't drink all this water and you don't eat clean, you fail. And it's just like that's restriction to
Yeah.
me. And so when you find your non-negotiables and it may feel like it's the same type of a thing, but it's non-negotiables like you just said that feel good. Like I'm not
Well,
going to
and a
tell you,
non-negotiable is you're taking the power. It's not you
right?
can't do this, you're losing this. Like that's a punishment. When it's non-negotiable, you determine what it is, just like you
Yep.
said, we create the list ourselves, you don't create it for us. But that makes it that this is something that I want to do and it's non-negotiable. I'm not gonna go off course because I've decided that this is for me.
Right, right. I mean, it's like when I coach people and say, this is what I love to eat for breakfast, and this is what I like to eat for lunch and dinner and all these things. And I say, apples, bananas, and oranges on a daily. I don't even know why those came to me, and I say that, and they're allergic to apples, oranges, and bananas.
No.
Instant fail. Instant, I can't do this. This won't work for me. This is all the things. It's back to that whole concept of keeping yourself hostage, not releasing certain things. And it's like release the restriction, release I think the control, right? Like we talked about that knuckling. It's like release that outcome, but you also have to make some sort of changes, but they have to be in alignment with you because if they're not, you're gonna they're a chores.
Yes.
They're a chores list. They are
Yeah.
not a
And who likes chores?
happiness
No one.
list. No, no
Yeah.
one likes chores. No one likes to, no. They're not a part of your laundry list. Let's just say that.
Yes. Are you open to sharing any of your non-negotiables just so people kind of have an idea what
Yeah,
kept things
absolutely.
here?
Yeah. So actually one of them is I like to call it net time because there's no extra time involved, but it's actually three habits that I've created before I even step out of bed.
Okay.
I have a crystal that I put right here on my chest, and I just say it's safe to be me. It's safe to step into the world. It's safe. I am creating my reality, certain things like that. And then I just kind of hold on to it. I do drink about 8 ounces of water, and then I have a gratitude journal that I do, and it's one of the little, just a cute little itty bitty journal. I do one page, and it's I can say I am grateful today for, and just do a list. I can get a little more detailed. Again, no labeling, just doing what feels right to me in the moment. So that's basically one non-negotiable that has three things
Okay.
connected to it. Um, and then another non-negotiable is working out. And that's either it could be just a workout or excuse me, a walk, or it could be one of my workouts, um, or both. But
Mhm.
it definitely need to do some sort of movement to connect to my body. So that's two. I do believe that I am on a healthier kick with food. So my non-negotiable for myself right now was to be tracking my food, to just see what makes me feel good. A lot of people think tracking is one of those like, oh my God, it's tremendous. I don't want to do it. But what it does is creates consistency and it can create alignment and it can create you to know what makes you feel better each day. So
Awareness.
that non-negotiable, yeah, that non-negotiable is maybe switching a little bit because I have been pretty stickler on it for about 15 and a half weeks. So I'm kind of like, maybe I'll try just being more
Yeah.
intentional with my choices and see how it kind of goes. And holding myself more accountable to that. But I think that the other non-negotiable for me is coming back to my own self each and every day for either it could be 30 seconds, but just checking in with how do I actually feel today?
Yes. Oh my God, I love those. Also powerful. I had started doing the gratitude every morning, even if it's not writing it out, but physically taking a moment and intentionally thinking about it. I did an interview with a neuroscientist
Mm.
uh, maybe 2 months back, and it was one of the most brilliant conversations, like just so like aha. But the importance of gratitude in the morning is anytime you do it, it's great. So don't get me wrong on that. But first thing in the morning, because it sets not only your body and your brain on the positive note, but I learned that like our brains, as we know, habits, staying stuck, all of that, it looks for reasons to prove itself correct.
Mhm.
So if you start with gratitude, it is going to be looking all day for things to essentially be more grateful for, to, make that manifestation happen, to whatever that looks like. And I have noticed a huge shift just in even how I handle stress if I do that in the morning or if I don't. Because some mornings I forget, the kids wake me up, I do a workout and just it completely spaces my mind to do it, but I notice such a difference if I do or don't start my day with that.
Yeah, yeah, and I didn't ever do it. I think I'm on day like 112. It was today,
It's like,
which
no.
is crazy because I don't think I've ever stuck with something that long.
Yeah.
Um, but it has now just become a part of my routine, and I feel like now, have there been times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I really need to go to the bathroom before I have to like do my little thing? And most people will be like, oh, you didn't do it in the time it was supposed to be, so and
Yeah.
I always say to all the girls that I'm coaching, I'm like, hey, just so you know, there's no timer that goes off in space that says she didn't do it
You
before
missed
she
it.
went to the restroom. She didn't do it maybe before, because I think over the weekend I like started to kind of check my phone and I was like, wait a second. I want to do this first. But that's the awareness. That's when you start to do things with intention. You remind yourself, wait a second, I need this time for myself first. Then other things will get done. And they'll get done in a better manner. They'll get
Yeah.
done in a more fulfilling way. They'll get done with probably a little bit more gratitude and grace
Mhm.
and compassion, because you have taken that time. So I think that
Yes.
that's what I've now known. I've gone on vacation and I still did it while I was on vacation because it felt right. It
Yeah.
felt necessary. But those are the things that you then know they're in alignment because they don't feel like homework. They don't feel like you're sitting in 12th grade waiting for senior day ditch days, you know? You're actually saying, I am so happy and excited that I get to take this intentional time for myself.
Yeah.
Working out doesn't feel like a chore to me because I love it. It makes me feel good.
I have heard it referred to recently, I don't even recall where, but joyful movement. Because for some people, like working out is intimidating. It means that they have to do a sweat. It has to be a certain period of time, whatever, talk about the labels. But once I heard it as joyful movement for someone who is, very sports focused, very workout focused, I'm like, I love that. Like, no, just get some movement in because then you don't feel like a walk isn't enough. It's like I'm moving my body in a way that
Right.
feels good for me right now.
Yeah.
The other thing what I wanted to point out was your tracking because tracking is so beneficial, but it does not need to last forever. Just like you said, like maybe, you're still doing it, but you've been doing it for longer than you've ever tracked anything. So trying something out. But I know, for my world, drinking, the tracking is so imperative, especially early on, to find that baseline and to be able to see where you are. But
Yeah.
for me, like I haven't tracked it all this year. And the only thing that I tracked last year was how many days that I did not have any drinks, and that was with my little gym jar that I have here. But it's finding what works for you. And again, that the whole reason I wanted to bring this up is nothing is permanent. Whatever you decide you need to do right now is what you're trying and getting curious about to see if it's effective or not. If it's not serving you or if it's no longer serving you, then find something else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, tracking is just a great way to see, get some, it's like data, right? It's just
Exactly.
data that downloads. And there's a lot of companies that run off of data, right? We have to do that. And our bodies are the same way. And so I think it's very important. I've got a couple of women right now that I'm working with, and they don't really necessarily feel like tracking is going to make this huge, you know, difference. And I say, okay, I'm going to let you and allow you to choose what you feel because
Yeah.
if it feels like restriction, we ain't doing it because it's more of a homework, right? So you have to figure out like is it going to get you where you want to be quicker, maybe faster, maybe more consistent, maybe more, with more data and feedback?
Yeah.
Yes. But is it absolutely have to get yourself into a results driven mindset? No, it's more of a how can you put these into your space to help you to see what is working and what isn't? Because we tend to fixate on all the negatives. No
Yeah.
matter how many positives we have, we fixate on the negatives. And I think that that's the saddest part of our reality is that we
Always.
are so wired to think of every single thing that we do is absolutely negative, even if we have just done so many things in our life that are life changing for us as long
Yeah.
as we stay consistent with them.
Yes, that's exactly it. And you'd said something that was so powerful there, and of course, it just slipped my mind as you went on. I'm like, this brain of mine just does not function like it used to anymore. Um, yeah, it's that thought is gone. So I'll come back to it probably as soon as like we're done with this. But um, as far as I guess working with you, like what is that like? How can people find you? What's the best way to get in touch? All of that good stuff.
Yeah, so I have an Instagram page. I've got my Facebook page, and I think that that's kind of the best place to find me is Instagram, and it's just my full name with .fit at the end.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll
And
be in the show
I'll put it
notes.
in the show notes so it's easy to
Yeah.
find.
It'll
Yes.
be easy to find, so you can find me on there. I am one too that my DMs are always open because I feel like sometimes just even having a little bit of a friendly conversation with somebody, and also feeling in alignment with who you're going to be working with. So I have an 8-week experience that I love to help you build self-awareness, but also help you look better, feel better, and fall in love with the person you see in the mirror. And I don't guarantee I can have you lose 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds. The experience is yours. So it depends on what you want to do and put in for your effort. But I do believe that if you come in with the intention of changing some habits, you will lose weight and feel so much better. In as little as 2 to 8 weeks. And so I love that. So that's kind of a very intimate, close experience with me. I do have a challenge that's starting here in the end of September that's basically just 14 days where you get a little taste because sometimes the little bit of taste is like, oh, wow, I either A, need this, or B, this isn't for me right now. And then I also am really excited to be announcing a new podcast. Super exciting for me. I had the Power Shift podcast for a while, but I rebranded and I'm hoping to launch that in anywhere between October and November. So there's a lot of things on the horizon. So there's just lots of different ways to connect with me. And really, truly, I believe that you are in control of your life and you're the one who needs to become so self-aware of what it is that you want. And once you do, you have the ability to create a level of happiness, success, joy, fulfillment that you once thought was impossible.
And you help them really find that awareness piece.
Yes.
And
And
I
that
know
is
that the testimonials just that I've seen from working with you have been mind blowing. So I'm just so excited for you and excited for the audience, everyone listening, to be able to especially try out that 14-day challenge, just like you said, to see if it's for them or not. And I
yep.
would be very surprised if it wasn't, but sometimes it's not always the time. I get that. So,
Right.
and I did remember what I was going to say based on what you had said previously, but when it comes to tracking, um,
Mhm.
I have definitely found that because I was in the boat as well, so I understand the resistance with food tracking, with alcohol tracking, with all of the tracking. But that resistance typically, whenever people are very against it, it's not wanting to face it. It's the accountability piece. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is I know the shame with it. I know how scary it can be. I know the annoyance of just having to do it. But that is where the magical shift is when you are finally honest with yourself. And the accountability piece is more to you than anyone else. Like, yeah, they might have to fill something out for you or turn something in, whatever, but at the end of the day, it's only for them. That is where the growth happens. So if you are resistant, if you are struggling with that piece, just really take a moment and like be graceful with yourself and get curious about it and just be like, what am I so resistant to? What do I really not want to be accountable for? Because that's typically where the magic happens from what I've seen.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's keeping the promises that you've made to yourself as well. Because
Yeah.
anybody can hold you accountable. And
Yeah.
my girls will probably be laughing if they hear this episode. I can hold you accountable and I can be your mirror and your truest fan.
Mhm.
But that accountability to yourself and the saying yes to yourself, even though you feel the resistance, yes, that is where the magic happens. It ain't easy. And
Yep.
nothing in life is easy that is worth either the weight or the hard work that it takes to get there. So just remind yourself when you have the resistance, it's because you're bumping up against that edge like we talked about in the very beginning, and a new reality and a new you is stepping into something different. So it's going to have that wobbly feeling, but once you jump, I don't
Mhm.
say jump to the other side, but once you
Yeah.
take that step and you say to yourself you're going to commit and you're going to connect with a different reality, that's where the magic unfolds. So,
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. And what a
yeah.
magical note to end on. So again, I'll put all your information in the show notes. Highly encourage anyone who is interested. Please check out the 14-day challenge and obviously everything else. But since this will be great timing for that, and just so excited for you and everything that you're doing and the transformation that you are a part of in all these wonderful lives. So thank you for being here and for being you.
Yes, thank you. This was so good and so good to connect on such a different level. So I appreciate you.
Oh, cheers. We'll see you soon.